making Estonian traditional rye bread. From a starter, not any kind of other mix. It's the real deal, and so we have traditional ingredients to go with that.
So now we're back to day one of making rye bread, and the process starts off using a starter from your previous batch. And you put it in your container in which you're going to make the sponge.
So this is the first step.
In Estonian it's called KURVITS.
So you've taken your starter, you're putting it into a large mixing pot of sorts.
Okay. I'm also putting a little bit of yeast in there. So I'm roughly about two teaspoons of yeast. And we do need a little bit of sugar. This is just to proof the yeast to make sure that you're sure there's not salt.
Taste it.
That'll get the yeast kick-started, and put a bit of warm water in here.
Okay, so in there went two teaspoons of yeast.
Just a big teaspoon or so of sugar and a bit of warm water. And just mix it up and just set it aside for about 5 minutes to make sure the yeast will start working.
Starts to froth up.
Yeah.
But make sure you loosen off the lid because it will start to bubble, won't it?
Okay, so we're back where we were before. We have a container with some starter in it, and what we're going to do, the recipe calls for 1.5 liters of liquid, which we decided that we're going to put in half of the volume in beer, which will give you a unique taste. So we put that in a little wooden box, and then mix it up with the starter from the previous batch. So it's starting to bubble already. And then in the meantime, there's the yeast that we proved, so you can see that yeast is working very well.
Look at that going.
So we're going to pour that in there.
Yeah, look at the slurry we got going on there.
I know. We have to add enough of the rye flour to the liquid to make a kind of a slurry.
So what we had initially there, that sponge.
Yeah, so the total rye flour that's going in here is 1.8 kilograms, so we're just taking a part of that 1.8. And
till you get a nice consistency.
Yeah, kind of a slurry thing.
And the 1.8 kilos, that's making the 3 loaves that we showed earlier.
Okay, so that's about the consistency you want the slurry at. So you've got the beer in here, you got the rye flour, you got the starter, and you got the yeast, and we got the sugar.
Okay.
So this will eventually become, what do we call it? The
sponge.
Sponge.
It's called a
sponge, or Estonian is KURVITS. So now this will start fermenting, partly from the starter and also partly from the yeast. And as it ferments, it also develops the sour taste that we associate with sourdough bread. So this will have to be put aside now in a warm spot for anywhere from at least overnight, and it could even be 18 to 24 hours. I usually do it the day before, so you do it in the morning of one day, and then you start making the bread the morning of the next day. And I keep it warm in whatever, on a heating pad or an oven. So.
What are you ultimately looking for? 80 degrees?
Yeah, 80 degrees is a good temperature.
Do it.
So this is the, I guess, day 2 of making the traditional Estonian rye bread. So what we have prepared previously was the mixture of starter or leavening, and this has been sitting now for about 24 hours in a warm area, and the mixture of the flour and the liquid is working and is turning sour. So we have a clay bowl here that's been previously warmed up a bit, and find a spatula. I'll pour it in here. You can see the bubbles in here where it's been working, and it's got a definitely sour smell to it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So we'll get everything out of here. Okay, so what we've done, we've transferred the sponge from here into the clay bowl, and we're leaving about a handful of the sponge in this container, and that'll be the starter for the next batch. So there's yeast culture and bacteria in here, and also whatever soaked into the woods. So that way we're ready for the next batch of bread. And this is good for about a couple of weeks. And after that, it'll start losing its effectiveness. But in the old days, I was used to bake bread either weekly or every couple of weeks. So I didn't have the opportunity to go to the local supermarket and get new bread. So this is fine. So we have this in a clay bowl. We'll put the water in. And now we'll start adding the rest of the ingredients. Firstly, 8 teaspoons of either coarse salt or sea salt, or 1.
Non-iodized.
You can also use coarser salt, the traditional sea salt that you use. We're adding 8 tablespoons of flaxseed. This kind of adds to the taste and also the texture of it, and that's what it looks like. 1, 2. Why don't we put in 2 tablespoons of caraway seeds? Caraway was one of the few spices that was available in Estonia, since caraway did grow there. I mean, there's all kinds of additives you can put in there.
Sure.
But usually it was sunflower seeds. Okay.
And rye flakes, that goes in after, I guess, right?
Sorry?
Rye flakes goes in after?
Rye flakes are already in. I mixed the rye flakes up with the rye flour.
Oh, gotcha.
So rye flakes give it a little bit of body and make the bread a little bit lighter. So we'll slowly start adding that.
You want me to stir?
Well, I'll start, and then you can take over.
Okay.
So we should use up all of the flour, and if it becomes a little bit too heavy in consistency, we can always add a little bit of warm water.
Okay.
So using up the 1.8 kilograms of flour will give you the 3 nice loaves of bread. So now the rye flour is very sticky. So like with the wheat flour, when you're making bread, you can put it on the counter. You can knead that. It is not that sticky. Rye flour makes it just like glue and sticks to your hands. So this is more of a stirring operation than it is of a kneading operation. Right, so we've been stirring or kneading this dough for about 5 or 10 minutes, and that's pretty well the consistency of it. That's good.
It's good and thick, good and sticky.
It's pretty sticky, pretty sticky stuff. So that's ready. So all the ingredients are in here. So the next step is we have 3 loaf pans here. Are they about 4 by 8 or 4 by 9?
Yeah.
Anyway, the traditional size. So inside of these things, we're going to have to coat with some butter. First of all.
You want a video, and I will do the buttering?
Okay, well,
since I got my glove on, just look in there.
Yeah.
I get to do the menial chore.
Yeah, so
I'll just gonna butter the pan. If nobody's ever buttered a pan before, it's pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
Get in there.
Give it a good coating.
If you don't want your hand to get all gooey and sticky.
No, well, it's good. Actually, butter is good for the hands.
Yes, good for the complexion.
Keeps the fingers from cracking.
Alright.
Actually, these are no-stick pans anyway, so...
So it'll just make the bread taste better. So now you're dusting the pans that have been coated with butter, and you're gonna...
so shake some in here like that.
So that way it ends up on the outside of the bread.
Make the crust nice and crunchy.
Alright.
Yeah, so something like that.
Something like that. Alright, we have our pans. Good to go.
All lubricated and covered, and then what we do is start transferring the dough into the pans. Okay.
And how full are you going to make them?
Well, you divvy it up into 3 equal batches, more or less. I mean, you could use a scale, but it's doing by eye is fine.
Right.
So now we have the dough equally divided into 3 pans, and I'm just doing the final leveling. And to keep the spatula from sticking, just keep it dipped in water, so that gives you a nice even loaf.
Nice. Now, do you do anything else to the top? Do you sprinkle anything on there?
No, you don't, but you have to keep it moist, so either before you put it into the oven, either brush or spray it with water. Now, traditionally, since bread was such a very important item in the diet of the people, it became almost religious. So what they would do is they would kind of poke 3 holes in the top with their finger, like that, 3 dimples, and that was Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost.
Is that right?
So now this is ready to go in the oven.
After it rises, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah. You have to let these rise for anywhere, I would say, if it's warm enough, then for about 3 hours, or until the dough is pretty well even with the top of the pan. So, Father, Son, Holy Ghost.
Extra one for the Father, eh? Which one was the Father again?
In nomi patroni. Isa, Poeg, ja Pyhä Vaim.
Pyhä Vaim, and that is the Holy Ghost. All right.
Okay.
So now they can rise up. We're going to have...
Well, okay, now we have to keep these things relatively warm, about 30 degrees for the loaves to rise, because it's pretty heavy dough. Each one of these is about 1.25 kilos, I guess. Yeah, so it's a fairly heavy bread.
Gotcha.
So you can let them rise in whatever warm oven, or put them on a heating pad, or put a heat register, or whatever you have handy. But you have to be in a warm and draft-free place.
Okay, so we built a nice little rising house. It's a rising house for our loaves of bread, 3 loaves of bread. And they're in baking pans, and then we have them on top of a heating pad, and the heating pad is underneath, obviously, and then the box is over top, so when they rise, nothing is actually touching anything. And then we put a blanket over the whole thing to keep the temperature in, and then there's what our temperature is there. Inside the house, 84 degrees Fahrenheit, and there's our house.
Okay, so where we're at now is that these have been rising for about 4 or 5 hours. Maybe could have risen a little bit more, but we'll take our chances. Now we brush the tops with warm water, and then we pop them in the oven. And then initially, this, well, it goes in 3 stages. We leave it in there for 15 minutes at 450. And then about 20 minutes at 400, and then we drop the temperature down to 350 for about an hour, so the whole process is going to take about an hour and a half. So here we go. And we put a pan full of hot water in the bottom to create some steam.
Ah.
So that'll help in the rising and the baking process, and hey, how about that? Tight fit, eh?
Everything fits.
Yeah, there we go.
Good. 15 minutes at 450. We're going to turn the temperature down to 400 and rotate the pans just in case they aren't cooking evenly. And we're going to spray the tops. Let's have a look. So we're spraying the tops. And here comes the bread. Knock 3 times.
Okay, so what we'll do is to prevent the crust from getting too hard, then we'll get some wet tea towels and we'll kind of wrap them in here for about 30 minutes or so.
Oh, I see.
So I'll let them cool down about 30 minutes or so.
So they cool down slowly.
Yeah.
Ah!
There we go.
And that's it.
Value is.
There we is. And now it's done. Ready for slicing in half an hour. And then manja. Good job.